Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, I call to order the May 18, 2026 meeting of the Municipal Authority. We're just back from an executive session of the board to discuss personnel and other privileged matters. At this time, I'll do a roll call. Maria Kane is here. Steve Mackel,
Here.
Walter Virginis,
Here.
Tim Kelly,
Here.
Steve Moyer,
Kevin Moyer is
sorry,
here.
Kevin Moyer.
Jesus.
I'm the worst. Our solicitor, Mike Madron, is here. Mr. Porter, our engineer, is here. And Steve Neese, our operations manager, is here. All right. At this time, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, everybody's had a chance to review the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Walter.
Second.
Second from Tim. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Right, everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from the April 2026 meeting that's in your packet. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Second from Walter. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Next, treasurer's report. I'm not sure there's anything to report, Steve, but let us know.
Yeah, so let me just give you a quick update where we are. We're continuing to work on your audits and get those into line. I will tell you, looking at revenues so far for the year, we are doing about where I would have anticipated us to be. We have a total of 1.6, although we're going to take about half of that. We're going to be at 800,000 for the first quarter. If I take that out, would make us a little short on total revenue that we were expecting for the SR2, but SR3 is actually a little ahead. So I think it works out to be pretty even. Expenses are actually falling a little bit behind right at the moment. Like I shouldn't say falling behind. They're less than what revenue is, which is what I would expect is also at this point of the year. You will have paid both your first quarters for both your two downstream providers. And then we are also, I think tonight you're approving the second quarter payment for them as well, for one of them. And then the other one I think is coming here shortly that we'll have probably at your next meeting. So those things all look good. We haven't had anything major regarding any major problems in our system so far this year. More construction, who has been doing the line evaluation, has kind of continued to keep doing that. They're going to get us a report here for you all to see here. So we'll be getting that for you. And you'll be seeing a bill from them. We thought we would have it this time, but they didn't get us the detail. And without the detail, we weren't ready to sign off and pay for it. So because we wanted to know which.
That's a bill from who?
Who's doing the videoing of your lines and doing all of that. And so they've been working, trying to get that done now that the weather is broken again. And they've been going at it pretty heavily since about the beginning of March. And so going back and finishing up what you had on there. So you'll probably see that bill at your next meeting.
I guess as treasurer, I'm kind of required to comment. I think this is the second or third meeting in a row we have no financial statements. I mean, we really are blind without the financial statements. Do you think that by June's meeting you'll have them? Because we really need to know.
Yeah,
exactly
as we finish up the 25 audit, which we're working on, right? We're working on now. I'll be able to then get you the statements and give you clear numbers.
And the second thing I have is the the magazine that you gave us that comes from the state on the authority,
Mhm.
had a whole article on Pliget, which we're required to put all our cash reserves in, or one of the options that we have for cash reserves. Within that article, it talks about you can term out some of the portions of the investment and get a higher yield. Do we do that? Because we have a ton of cash.
Yeah,
we don't
your
Right.
cash is not in Pliget. That was not a decision that the prior boards have made. If you're interested in that, I'll look in getting you information to
Okay.
put money in Pliget.
Okay, because it seems like we have a lot of surplus cash that's not readily needed for
No.
the first, like this year.
Recently, I've noticed recently that TD Bank is actually giving us less than what Pliget was. There for a while, they were competing with Pliget
Right.
for governmental accounts.
Right.
And so it made sense to keep it liquid and keep it local. But it's recently that slid.
Because it seems like they have a lot of options, like they're saying you can have a CD, you can have. And just-
Pliget has a lot of options that are very valuable.
Right.
And it would make sense at this point. The market keeps changing.
Yeah.
And as it changes, those are things that we try to keep an eye on, but I think we can put some more money in Pliget or put some money in Pliget for you and get that taken care of.
Okay.
LGIT.
PLGIT.
Yes,
Yeah.
I had to think about it for a second.
Pennsylvania local government.
Yes.
Why, thank
And
you.
I will get with them and get them to give us some information for
Yeah,
you.
because it seems like that would be great.
So we've been without a dedicated, I guess it's operations manager, whatever Caitlin's role was.
Yes,
How does the billing work with the township providing that? Do we get a discounted rate at the time that they're saving on payroll without that position?
we're gonna give, yes, we would give a discount.
Anything else, Steve, for treasurer's report?
There is nothing else at this
Okay.
point.
All right, thanks. Any other questions?
No.
All right, next moving on to the engineer's report. Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The engineer's report is included in your agenda packet. Just in summary, over the last month, mainly in April. We met with the DEP and the representatives from the potential development on Campus Boulevard for 11, 15, and 17 campus to discuss whether they need to pursue an exemption or full sewage facilities planning. And the timing with regard to certifying capacity is available for that proposed development. So it sounded like the conclusion of that meeting, the DEP said, hey, go back and work this out with the municipality and the authority. But it sounded like from the DEP's standpoint that sewage planning would be required because we're essentially changing the scope of what the township's base 537 plan approval was. So we're essentially going from about 6,000 gallons per day allocated to those properties to about 40,000 gallons per day of proposed sewage related to that development. So we'll see. I mean, that typically would play out during the sewage facilities planning module review and approval process, similar to other land development projects. So
What does that do by way, and I know you have more, but by way of the impact on our costs as an authority, by increasing that amount of flow?
well, it depends. So I looked preliminarily at whether upgrades to the old Masters pump station or Camelot pump station would be required. I don't think updates or upgrades to either pump station would be required. It looks like just a paper Part 2 permit rewrite. So there's
Okay.
a water quality permit that's issued for extensions of pump stations and force mains. When they're a certain size, a certain amount of flow, or they serve a certain number of people. So every one of our pump stations in the township has a Part 2 water quality management permit associated with it. The pump stations operate, there's basically a pump curve, so it's based on gallons per day and then RPMs of the pumps, and there's a whole service point that's identified, and it's based on the efficiency of the pumps as well. So just because the demand on the pump station increases, doesn't necessarily mean that the pumps can't handle it. It'll just move the operation point on that pump curve. And actually, it looked like it may move it to a point that's a little bit more efficient on that pump curve.
Is that like a physical move or just?
It's how the pump curves are just specifically developed from how the pumps are tested
Okay,
when they're manufactured. So in a certain model pump, all of the dimensions of the volume, the impeller, all that stuff is factored in, and then all of the different flow parameters are plotted on a curve. And you use that curve to size a pump for operation.
I'm just concerned that there's just such a big, huge difference between the current, expected flow and
It is.
and the anticipated. That there's gotta be maintenance, repairs that are going to be impacted. So even if there's no initial impact.
Right.
Other than making this change to the curve that you're talking about. I mean, there's gotta be huge
So
amount of.
more
impact.
flow means more pump cycle time, right? So
Yep.
your pumps are gonna be pumping more often. As more sewage gets added into the wet well, into the pump station, we look at what that detention time is. If it becomes too fast, we could increase the vertical distance between pump on and off, so we can reduce the pump cycle time. Can only adjust that so much, because obviously you don't want the wet well to fill up too high. You'll end up getting, high water alarms. But there's certain things within the operations of that particular pump station that you can look at to be able to kind of dial in on the most efficient operation. Yes, adding 40,000 additional gallons to the system above what was planned for 6,000 is a big jump. Right now, if all 40,000 of those gallons went to Old Masters, that would be a huge issue, right? But where that development is situated, it's basically at the crest of the high point on Campus Boulevard. So a portion of that flow is going to go one direction, a portion of it may go another direction. If they decide that they want to send it all one direction, my recommendation would be to send it to Camelot Pump Station, because it's already designed to handle it's a much larger pump station. So to keep everything out of the Old Masters Pump Station would eliminate the necessity to rewrite the Part 2 permit for that pump station. We'd only have to deal with one at that point. I think it would be
So
better.
none of it to Old Masters?
Right.
Okay,
So they were gonna look at getting me some additional information as far as the layout of the proposed development and what they thought the flow divide would be. And I was gonna rerun the numbers based on that to see at what point we could avoid having to send flow to Old Masters and send everything to Camelot. Or if there was a break even point between the two, what flow, how much percentage would need to go to Old Masters, how much percentage would need to go to Camelot.
good. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. Sorry to get into the technical weeds on
No, it
pump
helps.
stations, but.
But could I just tag on that?
Sure.
So in the planning of that, the developer would pay the cost of any improvements needed to either of the pump stations or.
Yeah, if during that planning process, it was determined that either pump station needed to be upgraded, we would put that burden on the developer. It wouldn't be something that the authority would have to undertake.
That's, I think. what we
Yeah,
wanted to understand.
and for one reason, it's their need, right? So, if the authority could say, we're not gonna upgrade it, we don't need your flow, whatever, they're stuck. They have to build their own pump station, somehow get into the system. The other reason, private developer could bid the project on straight dollars versus doing prevailing wage, which the authority would have to do. So that automatically adds 30% to the cost of the project. So any upgrades, the developer would do it and still would remain the authority's infrastructure.
Thank you.
But so anticipated maintenance and, kind of burden on the system. Should we not need to do any upgrades, that's something that would not be traditionally passed on to this developer?
Sorry, could you?
Like the anticipated maintenance that would be required, because
Additional maintenance you're
additional,
talking about?
additional maintenance and then, because we're going again from 6,000 to 40,000.
Right. So there is gonna be some additional electricity, additional pump cycle, some additional maintenance. Theoretically, that's all built into your rate structure. So as
Right.
more flow comes in, you're getting that revenues from the
From
additional
that,
EDUs
okay.
that are coming in to offset that ongoing maintenance cost. So it shouldn't change much, and you look at it on an annual basis. If it does change, then you make an adjustment in the rate structure.
It's very
accommodate
similar to how we handle increases today.
Yeah.
If there's an increased maintenance at the pump station, that gets spread over all the ratepayers. But if you just think about the fact, I did some quick numbers. You're looking, they would be doing some additional tap fees somewhere around about $1.5 million, I think is what I looked at quickly, in tap fees. So you would have that money coming in up front. And then in addition to that, you would be doing the debt service fee to them, the infrastructure fee with them. If you would have all of those times, that was it 270 units or something, I think, 270 units plus any usage they had, they would be paying that usage.
Okay, I just wanted to
Sure. That makes sense.
think it through. Thank you.
The other topic that I raised as part of that conversation with the DEP was, and the authority is aware that we're looking at eliminating the Hickory Lane pump station.
Right.
Connecting that to the existing sewer infrastructure. So that service area is also going to add flow to Old Masters. So we have to see at what point take that into consideration. We also have to do planning for flipping that pump station service area to another pump station service area. So I raised the question, well, if the developer's coming in with this project and the authority and the township are interested in eliminating this pump station, could that planning effort run concurrently? And the DEP's answer was, yes, it could. It would complicate things a little bit more, because if the planning ended up getting approved, that's fine. The authority would have a project ready to go. But if something in that project for the authority or for the developer held it up, so for example, if the developer was pursuing their sewage planning, they encountered some environmental issue, threatened endangered species that they have to clear, and it bogs down their process to getting the module approval. And we go and get an LSA grant to decommission that process, it could potentially hold that project up. So that's something that we would have to understand as the authority, what we want to do. Do we want to piggyback on that planning effort with the developer? Do we want to endeavor that it would be a special study separate from that developer?
It would be nice to have your recommendation on that.
Yeah, my recommendation would be to have the developer add that into their sewage planning process.
And what steps would we need to take as a board in order to kind of get that process rolling officially?
There would have to be some mechanism. And Steve, I'd have to talk to you and
Keep
probably
forgetting we got
to
our
Eric,
solicitor here too.
just about where they are in the land development process. There would have to be some agreement with the developer and the authority that they're gonna, and the township, that they're gonna undertake this additional planning effort on behalf of the township. And then it would, would obviously require township approval, signatures, authority signatures for capacity, et cetera, as part of that.
Very interesting. Okay.
And I can tell you the developer's still kind of in the preliminary stages. They've gotten conditional use approval,
Yep.
but they've not submitted any land development plans at this point. So we're early in the process.
Yeah, and that's worth noting. If they don't start, if they get into the land development process and don't start this until the fall of the year, we may end up finding that we are awarded an LSA grant and we have to swiftly put together a special study. But the nice thing is, at that point, just a small special study for that one pump station shouldn't take, it shouldn't be a 12 to 18-month process like a full planning module would typically take. It would probably be something along the 6 to 9 month process to prepare it and submit it. So,
Okay.
If there's no other questions on that project, okay. I'll move on. We just did some follow-up with PennDOT regarding maintenance of the clogged inlet on Westchester Pike near Charlotte's Restaurant. That's in connection with the Westchester Pike sewer replacement project we have ongoing. We absolutely cannot get PennDOT to respond. I know George Sharretts had reached out to PennDOT as well. Harry finally got in touch with somebody at PennDOT maintenance and said that they would be out within the week to vac the inlet out. So I'm not going to hold my breath. We'll see at the end of the week if that in fact gets done. It's important because there's a pipe that is obstructed leaving the inlet, and we can't see exactly where it's going, where it's coming from. We just have the PennDOT right-of-way plans that shows it shows a pipe leaving the inlet, and it just kind of days it off. I mean, it just cuts it off. It doesn't show a connection point. So if the contractor, Jurek, can't replace or can't work around that inlet box and under the pipe, then they may have to replace that box. So that's what we're trying to figure out, pin down. Lastly, the engineer's report says that we're reviewing a planning module for 2 to 8 St. Albans Circle. There's a DEP code number assigned to that as a component 3 planning module. I issued the section J capacity certification and the chapter 94 consistency determination today, and also issued the review letter for the planning module today. So that's completed. I do need to follow up with the homeowners at 307 French. I did go out to the property. They had made a complaint that the sewer trench was settling from the project we did last summer/fall. I did not see any area that was obviously settling. In addition to that, for what it's worth, the vegetation looks like it's come in very well. There's a couple of areas that are still a little bit sparse, but when I visited the site, it was still a few weeks ago, and spring really hadn't sprung all the way. So, but I will be touching base with that owner and with Jurek to get that situation resolved. Steve, you mentioned more construction is ongoing with their video. Do we have any quotes for Roberts Road lateral replacement?
I don't think so yet.
Okay. All right, because I know they were going to give us a quote. We need to get other, I guess.
As soon as I get their quote, I'll know what we know our other steps are.
And lastly, on the flow, everything at the pump stations looks relatively normal. Largest rainfall events was only about a half an inch a couple times at the beginning and end of April. No real obvious peaks in flow related to the rainfall events. I do note there Camelot Station, there's a couple of flow anomalies where flow spiked and dipped the subsequent day. So I'm not sure if that was just maybe some debris caught in a meter, but it held relatively steady for the remainder of the month. I didn't see anything in DELCORA's report that indicated that there was any issue with the flow metering there. Although there were some faults in some alarms at Camelot Station, or was it?
It was Hickory. It was the temperature alarms.
And that's actually pretty typical for Hickory Station, which.
And then Camelot was
That's the one that had the fault because of the power drop.
The power transfer.
So they adjusted the transfer switch, and it should eliminate some of that issue. So I'm wondering if maybe that was related to those. I didn't have time to dive too deep into Guard Dog to see if it was connected that way, but we'll keep an eye on it. That concludes my engineer's report.
All right.
Anything with Nell?
Nothing with now. Nothing with now.
There was plenty of other items on the engineer's report. Does anybody else have any other questions regarding those items? No? Okay. Thanks very much. All right, so moving on. Consider approving the bills on check register. We don't have any check registers, so there's nothing on here.
There's not a check register in your packet.
There was, let me go back.
There
to
was.
one.
Wait, are we skipping the operation manager's report?
Oh, sorry, yeah, operations manager's report.
The one thing I mean, actually, we covered some of it just a few minutes ago. Your DELCORA reports in here. everything's pretty standard except for those few minor things that we already picked out related to Camelot and Hickory. And they had no recommendations. I will tell you that our Public Works team has been looking into their safety report. If you remember, you had, I think it was last month or the month before, you had a safety report. We think that at least some of those that the Public Works team would provide for you, we're going to get you an idea of what that would cost, so you know. I think the one thing that we just want to understand is, does the authority wish to do all of those that are on the list, or you know, is it, and we don't have to have a full answer tonight, but we're just trying to figure out, like, one of the things that we had talked about was there's an electrical pole like that for the purpose of if there's a live wire, making sure that it's there. Our suggestion was to put one on the truck versus one at each station. They want one at each station. So, you know, those are the kind of things that we just, that's really where the cost was. You know, if I looked at it, you know, I think it came back about $14,000 worth of cost, and probably 10 of it was in these poles and that piece of it. Where if it was on the truck, they would have it when they got there and it wouldn't matter which station they were at. But then if you had somebody sent out and it wasn't on that truck, then you have an issue. So those are the kind of things we just have to go through and say there's nothing that was required by the DELCORA, but they're all, I think they basically put you on notice. You have some safety issues, and I think we need to address them.
Should we talk to council about our risk and exposure and formally make a decision on that?
Potentially, but that's the biggest thing that I think we just need to keep out. Fire extinguishers and first aid kits make sense. You know, we're working through getting what that would take to do those things, and move forward. And if we can't do it cheaper than DELCORA can, we would recommend to you to have DELCORA do it.
This DELCORA safety report, it's not like a statutory thing. Where does the basis of their recommendations come from?
Don't know what it is. I don't know if it's on the labor side. I know they have a lot of safety provision. Their labor agreement. From that,
I think it is.
So is it more best practices or? Okay,
I would have to have a CBA.
Hmm.
If there's anything, you know. Obviously, that's a little broader. But I'll reach out, find out.
All right, so that's where we'll leave it.
Yeah, and I
Because the
think
cat's out of the bag now. We've discussed all these safety things, so now we have to cover all our bases.
Necessity.
Right.
The other thing that I'd say is Steve and I are likely to speak with our carrier in the near future, so this might be something we want to.
Okay. Like that.
Yep. That makes sense. All right. Unless there's anything else, we'll move on. Consider approving the bills on check register A totaling $430,010.58. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
second,
And thank you, Steve. All those in favor? Aye. All right, next, consider authorization to engage DELCORA for additional services. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Walter and Tim. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Real quick, sorry, to go back to number 9, consider approving the bills in the check register.
Check register A,
Check register A dated
I guess, 5/18,
5/18,
2026,
totaling
totaling $430,010.58.
I think we just had to put in the minutes correctly.
Thank you. All right, moving on. We talked about the safety recommendations already. I don't think that's an action item. So moving on, and 12.2, we're going to table for the next meeting. There's no members of the public here, and I apologize, I should have mentioned that from the beginning. So because there's no members of the public, there's no public comment. All right, with that, unless there's anything else for the good of the order, I adjourn the meeting. Okay,
Right.
we're adjourned.
Thank you.